Hey, friends. Hello, hello. Come on in, come on in. I am just gonna admit everyone, so it might just take a little bit of time. In the meantime, make sure you have a pen and paper because you'll probably want to take some notes. I think we're gonna have quite a class tonight, so excited you can all join. I actually snuck away in my room tonight. Normally I'm out in my garage. We kind of renovated our garage for like my classroom space, but it is cold tonight. Oh my word. I'm not ready. How many of you are not ready? Maybe you are. You can tell us in the comments if you are ready for these cooler months ahead, or if you are a summer girl or guy. If there's any guys joining. Now we're going to be talking about estrogen tonight, and we're going to talk about our guys tonight too, because this affects them as well. And as a woman, our role, and I don't want to put us in a box, but a lot of times we're the ones bringing the things into the home, right? We're the ones bringing the food and the products into the home. And so the things that we're bringing into our home also affect our men. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, some you're saying I'm not ready for the cold. Some of you said yes. I go back and forth, Melanie. I do. I kind of like the months. I call them my hibernation months, where I can just kind of hunker down with a good book. I'm not a reader, but I do like to read. Are any of you like that, where you have like 5 books started and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna read, and I have like 1 chapter started in like multiple books? I think I like the idea of it. Okay, and I'm gonna put some oils on so that I can think clear tonight, because what we're gonna talk about is definitely a very big topic. So as you're joining in, I'm gonna ask you some questions. I'm kind of looking over here to the side, letting people in, but I'm gonna ask you some questions. Make sure you have a notebook and pen, because you'll probably want to take some notes. Even if you jot down a few words, things that come to your mind, things that you want to research, make sure you have pen and paper. Okay, when did you start hearing about probiotics? Go ahead and type that in the comments. When did you start hearing that word? You might have to think back, right? A couple years, many years ago, but it really wasn't that many years ago, right? When we look at things, full picture. When did you start hearing about probiotics? When were you first introduced to fermented foods? What do you think of, and you don't have to answer all these questions, but just kind of answer as you can think. What do you think of when you hear the word gut? Because that word is used a lot. Gut health, leaky gut. You might hear the word microbiome. What parts of the body do you think of? Do you think of just like, your stomach? What parts of the body do you think of? Oh, Brandy, I love it. Grandma. Yes, I love that grandma kept those traditions. Yes. 5 years ago, 2 years ago, some of you had stomach issues, so you started researching. Chris, when I met you, and Kristen, yes. Kristen, let me tell you a story about Kristen O'Reilly. I don't know. I don't think she joined. She might be joining later. Um, Kristen O'Reilly and I, so funny how we meet people in our community. I love this about our community. I have met so many of you that I probably would have never met if I did not say yes to that Young Living opportunity, right? Kristen O'Reilly and I met through a crunchy like moms group that another friend of mine started. It wasn't Young Living based or anything. It was just like a crunchy moms group, right? Or a crunchy women's group. And we met at a Walmart parking lot, and we exchanged sourdough. She gave me rye sourdough and I gave her kefir grains. Never met the woman in my life except for Facebook. And my husband always says, "Who are you meeting now? What are you doing?" It's like, trust me, it's okay, it's safe. All right, we're just going to get started in just a few moments. Okay, so I love how, like we're just introduced to these things slowly. It's not like all at once. And I love how we don't have to do everything all at one time. We don't have to be eating, sourdough bread and drinking kombucha and having, a fermented food at every meal. It's slowly changing things over. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Oh, you're coming. Okay, a lot of you had like stomach issues, right? Fermented foods a month ago. Some issues with small intestines, emotions. Emotions definitely have a play on our gut. Exactly, Denise. Okay, so I'm gonna get started. And if I'm not letting anyone in, if you see someone that's trying to join, please let me know, because I kind of get caught up in talking and then forget about those that are trying to join. So welcome. My name is Sarah Stutzman, and I am a holistic health coach. I became certified a few years ago just because I wanted to dive deeper into wellness and study nutrition and lifestyle, because it's something that is near and dear to my heart. My husband and I got married 13 years ago this month, actually last week was our anniversary, and we just dove into this whole lifestyle. And we had friends that were asking us about what we're growing, what we're doing, what's that growing on your counter that looks kind of funky. And so we just wanted to be able to give them answers. And I feel like I just wanted to have validation, though you don't need that. Now that I'm realizing this, you can go and you can, not validation, but just like, saying that I can help you in a certain area, right? Being a holistic health coach. But you don't need that. Anyone can help anyone. And I want you guys to leave here and be a ripple effect. Start doing these things in your own life, and your friends are going to be asking you, "Hey, you look so much more vibrant. Your skin is glowing. What are you doing?" And you can start helping your friends and giving them solutions to what you're doing in your life. And that's all it really is. It is coming back to the basics of lifestyle. And tonight we're going to talk about the most important part of our body, and that's the gut, the microbiome. You might hear it in different terms, but it's the epicenter. That's how I like to think of it. It's the epicenter of our life, of our being. And we are more microbial than we are cellular. So we are actually, and we're gonna relate this all to estrogen. This is a huge topic. So I encourage you to research and do some more research on this. In our culture, we are swimming in a sea of estrogen. Even our men, our boys, we are swimming in a sea of estrogen. And estrogen is good for females. My daughter and I were having this conversation. She's 8, and she was asking me all the questions. Why do men get hair on their body? Why don't we get hair on our body? And so we had this conversation about testosterone and estrogen and the things that make men a man and the things that make women a woman, right? Or a woman a female, and that give us our characteristics. So we need estrogen, but we are getting too much of it And our bodies are not able to detoxify it properly because our gut is under attack, okay? And so we need estrogen, but we also need it to leave our body. So that way, fresh estrogen that our body is creating can do its job. We don't need any lingering estrogen, right, hanging out there. And so we're going to talk about the microbiome, which is our gut, and something called I can never say it right. I call it the estrobolome. So I'm going to call it that, but it's, when you do research, you're going to hear people call it something different. I call it the estrobolome. So the digestive tract, some of you are saying, the small intestines, the large intestines is what you think of when you think of the gut, right? But in fact, it is from our mouth to our anus, okay? Just to put it in layman's terms. It is 30 feet long. Our digestive tract is our gut. And we have glands within there that help, and our liver that helps secrete enzymes that are needed for digestion. So we have our liver, our pancreas, and our gallbladder. But let's not forget our tonsils, right? A lot of people have gotten their tonsils taken out because they've given us problems, but our tonsils help secrete enzymes and things to start the digestive process when we start to eat. As soon as food enters our body, we start to salivate, enzymes are released, and that digestive process is started. And our teeth too, right? Chewing helps with digestion. So from our mouth all the way to the end part, to our anus, all right, is our digestive tract, 30 feet long. You might have heard Hippocrates saying that all disease begins in the gut, very famous saying, but it does. We need to just go back to basics. Our microbiota, you might hear it, these terms, microbiota, flora, microbes, bacteria, however you hear it, however you say it, is 2 to 4 times more abundant than cells. So we are more microbial than we are cellular. Our cellular genome is our first, is first and foremost, and then our microbial genome is second, which I think, I don't know, I think I would put our gut first, but science is science, right? And we can think what we want. But we have 10 to 20 trillion cells to about 40 trillion bacteria species, different kind of bacteria within our entire body, even living on our skin, okay? So your microbiome, which is, we call it our microbiome. I want you to think about this, our micro. It's our tiny little ecosystem, right? We have our whole biome, our whole ecosystem around us. The plants, the soil, the food that we eat, right? That's like our whole earth is like our big biome. We have a little ecosystem living inside of us that keeps us thriving, all right? And we need to keep that healthy and well. Just like we think about recycling, taking care of the earth, we think about that big picture, but we need to think about the big picture within ourselves, okay? That little ecosystem. It encompasses bacteria, fungi, and yes, viruses, all living together in harmony. It should live in harmony, okay? But here's the thing. Oh wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. And those things are in charge of energy production, the way that we eat and we ferment the food inside of us and break it down. Vitamin synthesis, when we eat things and we break down the nutrients in them, or fat-soluble vitamins, they build amino acids, and they are the overseers of our immune system. We hear that the gut is the gut is like our immune system. It's the central part of our immune system. It is the overseer of our immune system. It's the first line. Like I said, we're more microbial than we are cellular. So those microbes, they communicate to each other and they're like, whoa, there's something here that doesn't belong. And they signal and they fire a response to the immune cells, to that system. And then our immune cells attack, okay? So they are the first responders. This is very important. We need a healthy microbiome in order to have a healthy immune system. And this microbiome keeps chronic disease at bay. At least it should. Enter the Western culture. And when I speak on this, I don't want anyone to feel guilt, shame, or that you're doing something wrong, because knowing these things help us to move forward, and they help us to change areas in our life that that we need to be bringing attention to, that maybe we were led astray because media, science kind of leads us astray. Science is only now catching up to the microbiome. It's only been in the last 20 years where we are actually studying the microbiome. And some of you, when I read through, you've only heard probiotics, microbiome in the last 2, 3, maybe 5 years. But I want you to think back to that yogurt. Oh, what was it called? I had it in my head. It's a little green yogurt that they would like advertise as, maybe someone can comment here. I'm thinking Optivia. It's like, it's a yogurt that's filled, that they like pack full of like probiotics. Anyone get me here? Anyone thinking of that one? No, I'm seeing blank stares. Okay, that's okay. There was a yogurt that they had on the market like 15 years ago, and I know it's still in the market, that they would be like, this improves digestive health, this makes you go to the bathroom, this yada, 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 right? And that's when they would start, I heard at first, starting to push probiotics and digestive health. Dang, I wish I could remember it. Maybe I will. If I don't, I'll post it in our group, because I know y'all know, you probably saw it, it's still on the market. But only the last 20 years have they really started to study, science has started to study the microbiome. And there is still a world of things to study. It's just beginning. And the estrobolome is one of those things that is just being studied in the last year. And so enter the Western culture, right? No shame, but these are the things that can wreak havoc on our gut health. Fragrances, all those chemicals and fragrances, sterile environments. And they do studies on rats where they're called sterile rats, and they don't have a microbiome. They have no bacteria, they have no fungi, no viruses within their whole microbiome. They're sterile. And so think about it. Washing our hands is good, but washing your hands with antibacterial soaps strips all that good bacteria off of our hands. Hand sanitizers, all those really harsh hand sanitizers strip all that good bacteria off. Isolating ourselves. You see, our culture right now, since March, we've been isolating ourselves, wearing masks, not coming in contact with humans. And our microbiome it is necessary for us to be in contact with other humans, other bacteria from other humans, other viruses, other fungi, all those things, because they communicate. Don't ask me how, but that is where science is just catching up. And so we cannot have sterile environments. We need dirt, and we need to dig into the soil. We need to be with others. Medications, over-the-counter medications, hormonal medications, so birth control, any hormone therapies impact our microbiome. Processed foods. I'm a child of the 80s. Okay, I grew up on processed foods, and home-cooked foods as well. But a lot of it, yes, who said it? Activia. You got it, Sarah. Activia was that yogurt. And I know it's still in the market too today, but that's the first time I heard, probiotics, right? But all yogurt has bacteria in it, or like live bacteria, the lactobacillus. Gluten and industrial seed oils. You are going to hear this word, and I'm going to type it in here. It's called PUFAs. It's an acronym. PUFAs. Never do two things at the same time. Are polyunsaturated fatty acids, and they are all of our industrial seed oils. Vegetable oils, canola oils, all the things that were pushed in the 90s and early 2000s and still pushed to this day. Heart healthy, right? All those industrial seed oils, but they actually create oxidation in our body. And a lot of times they are full of, soybean oils they're full of like just mixtures of different seeds that really shouldn't be made into oils. So we really want to be sticking to some more natural options, which I'll talk about at the end. But all of these things create dis-ease in our microbiome because they create inflammation, okay? This leaves 60% of the population with at least one chronic disease, okay? That could be diabetes, that could be cancer. I mean, you name something and that is a chronic disease, arthritis. I mean, the list can go on and on, right? And why? The root cause is inflammation because of an unhealthy microbiome, an unhealthy gut, because it leads to gut permeability. It means our cells, and I want you to see this. If you can see my hands, and if you want to look just at me, if you look in your top right-hand corner, there's 3 little dots. If you click that, you should be able to, it should be able to show just the presenter. I forget what the word is for that. Mine's not showing because I am the presenter here. I'm not going to take too much time to do that, but it should be able to show just presenters, speaker view. There you go, Sarah. That's what it should say. Mine's not showing up because I am the speaker, but okay, just so that you can see this. So when you are born, your gut, your cells, your epithelial cells on your gut lining, right? Your intestine lining are semi-permeable, okay? There's little holes that allow nutrients to go through, because when you're a baby, you're really just, it's breastfed. That's how we were created, breastfed. And so those tight junctions only form and get really tight when we are about 12 months old, okay? Because that's when we start eating solid foods. And the solid foods that babies are fed now are rice cereals, a lot of grains, which are really tough on, they're hard on the digestive tract. And that's a topic for another day. But those junctions are supposed to be tight junctions, okay? Now I want everyone to take a little piece of hair. Are y'all with me? Comment if you're like with me, or if you're like, whoa, this is really heavy. Because I'm really trying to like make this applicable for you so you can understand this. Take a little piece of hair, just a little tiny piece of hair, okay? Now I want you to imagine you cut that in half. That piece of hair cut in half is your epithelial lining. Those are the cells that line your digestive tract. Those are the cells that let things in and out of your digestive tract, okay? They are there to be that barrier, that protection. Thank you, Laurel. And when our immune system, when our digestive system is compromised, our immune system is compromised, our our cognitive ability is compromised, our hormones are compromised. So we need to be able to have a healthy microbiome through our environment, through the things that we nurture it with. I want you to think of, I don't know how many of you are hunters here, okay? I was writing this up and I was like, okay, this is what I can think of. And this might be a little gross for y'all, but I'm gonna put it in other terms too. Hunters, we harvest our own food here. We process our own food. All of our animals, we butcher, right? And when you cut them open, it's all intestines. It's all innards, okay? It's all the stomach and the intestines. That's what the majority of the gut is. And if you hit that with a knife, it opens, and you cannot do that, right? It is the tiniest, thinnest layer. Your intestines are the tiniest, thinnest layer, right? I want you to think about like sausage. You probably won't be able to eat sausage after this anymore, but those that like sausage casing, think how small that is, how thin, not small, but thin. That's like our intestinal lining. We need to keep those tight junctions intact so we can have, so we don't have all the inflammation. So what causes that inflammation? All those things I had already said, okay, causes inflammation. So let me make sure I'm on the right track here. When we have toxins, toxins can come in the form of like the things I said, fragrances, medications, processed foods, industrial seed oils. Those things then can create a permeable intestinal lining, meaning those junctions start to open. They start to release undigested food proteins. They get back in the bloodstream, and they're not supposed to be there. And the body sees them as like invaders, and they're like, they attack them. So let's talk about gluten, because this might be one that you understand, right? It's one that I understand the most out of all of the like food sensitivities. You might have heard of like food sensitivities, right? I feel like every American has a food sensitivity, right? We're all sensitive to something. And so gluten, is gluten good? Is gluten bad? Should I get rid of it? What should I do? I don't know. Like, right? That's like the big question. Gluten, a lot of people have sensitivities to gluten and they feel it. They might have a skin rash. They might have, the thyroid conditions from eating gluten. Those are the big ones, right? Gluten affects every human being, because here's what it does. It's like that big bully that just tries to break out of jail. And he's like, I'm not just going to go by myself. I'm going to take all my buddies with me. And gluten makes the intestinal lining permeable. So it is a peptide structure that triggers inflammation. It's an inflammation response immediately. It breaks open that those cell walls, that tight junction in the gut lining, breaks it open and it gets out, okay? And so no matter how your body responds, it's responding. You might not feel it. It could be a restless night's sleep and you're like, wow, I didn't sleep very good last night. That's kind of odd. But you never would relate it back to gluten, right? So it could always come back to that. Alzheimer's, they're doing studies on Alzheimer's now because of the inflammation response that gluten has on the brain, all right? And I want you to think of this. It's like a cut. If you're constantly eating gluten, it's like constantly cutting your finger in the same spot every single day, right? Your body can't heal. It just keeps cutting itself and it's not healing. Now, if you have like sourdough bread maybe once a week, well, yeah, then your gut can heal, right? It's more natural. It's a more natural bread, right? But you're not eating it every single day. You have a whole week to recover, okay? That's what our ancestors did. They didn't eat things in gluttonous amounts, right? Like the American people, like we do, right? We're just like, yeah, give us more, right? I'm guilty of it too, because we're just used to that. But when you eat it in moderation, and the gluten that we're finding in grains that are grown, in the industrial world, they're grown to hurry the process, and they're sprayed so heavily, and they're genetically modified that they have so much gluten in them that our body isn't able to even be able to heal from it. And we're getting these crazy effects from it. And so when we're eating flour like einkorn flour, ancient grains that are grown without the sprays and they're not modified, okay? If you just research, you know, ancient grains compared to hybridized grains, you'll be able to see pictures of it. You'll see ancient grains are long and skinny and narrow, and they only have like, you know, a few kernel or a few like wheat berries on them. Compared to hybridized, they're these short, little fat grains, like these little wheat stalks, and they have so many wheat berries on them. So they're hybridized to produce more. And so obviously more gluten, okay? Getting off topic here, but gluten then, if you have thyroid, let's talk a little bit about hormones. Thyroid, so when gluten breaks out and takes his buddies with him, right? Gluten is very similar, that protein is very similar to the like thyroid tissue. And so your body is seeing the thyroid tissue then as gluten, and it's starting to attack the thyroid. That's why you have a lot of people that have thyroid conditions and they cannot have gluten, okay? So I just wanted to bring that up because that's one of the most common food sensitivities that we see out there, okay? So get rid of gluten, keep gluten. I don't know, that's something that you have to decide, and you have to journal. How do you feel after you eat something? When you eat something, journal it. Okay, if you're having some conditions where you're having bloating, you're having moodiness, you can't sleep well, journal it. Journal what you eat. What did you do? What's your environment like? What's your stress level like? I always tell my clients, journal everything, so that way you can pinpoint what is happening in your life and in your daily routine that is triggering these responses. What foods are triggering these, okay? So always remember that when we have semi-permeable, when we have that semi-permeable gut lining, okay, and it's meant to be that way. It's meant to leave out things that should go back into the bloodstream. It's meant to pull in things that are meant to be in the, you know, in the digestive tract. So it's meant to be that way, but it's not meant to be always, that digestive tract isn't always meant to be open, okay? So I had to just share those things before I could even share what the estrobolome is, because this is huge, right? So all disease is from inflammation, from an unhealthy gut lining, from either a dysbiosis in our digestive tract or what have you. But all disease, the root cause is always an underlying inflammatory issue, whether it's low-grade inflammation or it's full-on inflammation, where your body is sending check engine signals, where it's rashes and it's hair falling out, it's can't sleeping, bloating, whatever it is, your body is sending you a check engine signal, and it's normally from inflammation, okay? So what does the microbiome have to do with hormones, especially estrogen, since we're swimming in this sea of estrogen? Okay, you have a set of microbes, bacteria, good bacteria, that is meant to detox estrogen, okay? Estrogen floats around in the bloodstream, okay, gets used as needed, then it's sent back through the liver to go through phase 1 and phase 2 detox. I have a whole liver video on detoxification on my YouTube channel, but it goes through detoxification, and then it's excreted through bile back into the intestines, okay? And that's where it can be excreted through our stool. That's how it should be. But here's the thing. There is one bad guy that gets in the way. Don't ask me how to spell it. You can look it up. I can say it, but spelling it, that's the other thing, okay? When we have a dysbiosis, when we have, it could be too much of a good thing. It could be too much of a bacteria in an area. It's an overgrowth in the small intestines. Okay, there's a name for it, but I'm not going to say it because we're not here to talk about diagnosing or anything, but there's an overgrowth in the small intestines. Sometimes it could be E. coli. I mean, we have E. coli all over our system. It could be any other bacteria that's too much. It's an overgrowth, and it creates something called 𝙙𝙤𝙚𝙨. Beta-glucuronidase. And this is an enzyme that stops detoxification. It just stops detoxification in its tracks, no matter what you're detoxing. If it's estrogen, if it's medications, if it's cancer-causing chemicals that we're putting in our body, on our body, breathing in, it stops it, okay? So that is why we need to have good bacteria in our gut, okay? We have to have this harmony of good bacteria. Glucuronidation is a good thing. It's an action that helps break down and detoxify and eliminates things through our stools, okay? It makes things less toxic, okay? It's an acid that is actually being used, but when we have this overgrowth of negative bacteria, bad bacteria, okay, when we have this imbalance, this dysbiosis, it causes beta-glucuronidase. So again, it's an enzyme that stops detoxification of anything in our system, but we are thinking here in the terms of estrogen. We need to clear estrogen, right? Why do we need to clear estrogen? Well, here is why. Because how many of you, and you can just nod your heads, you don't have to comment or anything, have suffered from PMS, endometriosis, heavy cramping? Well, that's PMS, right? PMS could be cramping, anxiety, mood swings, laying in bed, like crying, right? It could be hair loss. It could be PMDD, which is a severe PMS. Hang on, letting someone in. Severe PMS that is creates severe depression and anxiety, right? I mean, the list could go on. I don't want to be naming too many things because I feel like then I'd be like treating things, but this is just what happens when we have estrogen that we can't clear, okay? And then in our post-menopausal, and not even post-menopausal years, it could even happen prior to that, cancer, okay? Here's the thing. This is October. This is Breast Health Month, right? And these are the things that we're not taught. And I'm going to teach you these things because 70%, and I'm getting ahead of myself here, but 70% of breast cancer is estrogen receptor positive, meaning those breast cancer cells are feeding off of estrogen. Okay. And so that is why it's crucial to be able to detox estrogen. It's crucial to have a healthy microbiome and healthy bacteria to detox extra estrogen. We need a healthy liver, but we also need those microbes there because they're the ones that say yes or no, okay, in response in our body, okay? So let me get back to where I was because I think I just went ahead of myself. Okay. Nope, I didn't. Okay. So, I mean, you might be just having some light PMS now, all right? But that's your body's check engine signal to say, whoa, I need to get this under control. What's happening in my body, okay? Because you don't want to get to that point where it's even worse, right? So we want to detox, but how do we do it, right? How do we do it? And I'm going to get to your questions at the end. I see some questions coming through. It starts with the basics. I know we're all searching. What's that magic thing that's going to help me live that healthier life, right? What's that magic supplement? What's that, you know, that secret cure, that secret thing that's going to make me live more vibrantly and detox my estrogen and not have all these side effects? It's the same things I feel like we've been teaching you guys over and over and over again. It comes back to lifestyle, okay? So how do we start healing the gut? You can go on Amazon and you can search. There's so many things, right? There's so many things that is going to be like, heal your gut, take this supplement, right? But how do you know it's going to work, right? So it comes back to you taking action every single day on one of these things and starting to implement. Start with one thing, okay? Number one, here we go. I have like pages and pages of notes because I'm like, I wrote it and then I rewrote it and I wrote it and rewrote it to make it just really, really understandable for y'all to understand this, because there's so much information out there and I want you just to be able to take this and run with it, okay? So one thing you can do, and I didn't mention this, is you can get a stool test. I feel like every single person should get a stool test at a physical. That should be just a given, but we're not. That's something we have to ask for or pay out of pocket for. But let me get. Okay, so I got one done, and simple. You order it, you go to the bathroom just like you would, and you send it in and they send your results back. But guess what? It shows you beta-glucuronidase. It shows you that marker. If it's high, then you know that you have that enzyme that's blocking detoxification. It's going to show other things too, but it's going to show that marker. And you know, your stool is like a window into your entire body. Okay, it shows the things that should be there, shouldn't be there. All right, so a stool test. Now, ask for what? You can look for, I went with GI map. I did this when I was going through school, and it was great to be able to have those things and understand them. So GI map, I'm going to write this here. There's some other, they just do an overview of your stool, and you don't have to ask for anything. They do it. So GI map is one. And then the other one is Viome. I never used that one. So there's other companies. GI Map, I feel like that's the one that was highly recommended through our school, and gave you the results. And it read high, it read normal, it read low, so that way you could read it on your own, but you can go to a nutritionist or a functional medicine doctor or a naturopath that reads those, and you can ask them to read it for you as well, if you don't feel comfortable, you know, looking at it and seeing what it means. But that is one thing. I always say test, don't guess. If you are that person that you want to know what your numbers are, that's a good starting point, okay? There's hormone tests that you can take too, and I can help you through that and like finding one that works for you. I don't want to get too in depth with that, but I thought since we're talking about the digestive tract and stools and all of those things, just to bring up that the GI mapping is really helpful to help you understand that marker, the beta-glucuronidase, if that marker is high. So how do you get that marker down? How do you help your digestive tract to be in harmony and not to have an overgrowth in one area or the other? Number one, have more fiber in your diet. That doesn't mean go out and eat all the grains and all the bread. You can get fiber in pears, in nuts and seeds, in berries, in vegetables, okay? So fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds. Chia seeds, I think, had like 34 grams of fiber. How many of you like chia seeds? Have you ever had chia seeds before? Yay, okay. We make like a chia pudding with just some raw milk and some peanut butter and chia seeds, and we'll have that for breakfast. And that gives our body fiber, and then that fiber can help eliminate that extra estrogen. But the number one fiber source that you should be eating to help eliminate estrogen and to help create a healthy microbiome and to get those, that harmony in your intestinal lining? Anyone know? Type it if you know. I'm gonna let you hang in. Number one, vegetable group. I'm gonna move on. See if you guys know this. Number two, reduce alcohol. Okay. Yay, cruciferous vegetables. You got it. Cruciferous vegetables. So anything in the brassica family, like broccoli, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts. This time of year is great for that. And you need just a cup a day and lightly steam it. Here's the thing. When you're eating cruciferous vegetables, you have to lightly steam them or roast them. Eating them raw will interfere with thyroid action, okay? It'll actually stop the uptake of iodine. So you'll wanna just lightly steam them, okay? So cruciferous vegetables. Number two, reduce alcohol. It's normal to have like a cup or two of wine in the evening every single day, but that's across the board for women. But that's going to increase estrogen because it's increasing sugar. And it's also, a lot of times those grapes are sprayed with chemicals that are xenoestrogens. And so we don't need any more of those estrogens, right? So reduce it. I'm not saying get rid of it, but reduce it. Number three, fermented foods. These naturally have lactobacillus in them, okay? I say this over a probiotic, okay? Fermented foods first. I always say foods first and then a probiotic. So every meal, or if you can get it in once a day, start with once a day. A little bit of sauerkraut. Kombucha. I know Sarah Paul, she is like the master kombucha maker, right? If you make it, you can make it yourself. You can purchase kombucha now at the grocery store. They have live kombucha, making sure that it is live and active. When I was growing up, I thought eating a sauerkraut was getting that bag of sauerkraut at the grocery store and having it on New Year's Day. Like that was sauerkraut for me. And when we started making it, we would can it, and that heating process killed all probiotics. So you want to make sure it's fresh. So any kind of fermented foods are always fresh. They have never been canned. They still have those live probiotics in them, okay? So drinking something that's fermented, eating something that's fermented, I feel like you can find a lot of those things at your farmer's market now. We have them in abundance in our area now. So search out, look in your farmers markets for fermented foods. If that's something that's not possible, Young Living has Life 9. It withstands the acid in your digestive tract so that it can populate in your intestinal lining. And it has over, I think it's 9 strains, Life 9, 9 strains of bacteria. And I think it's like 20 billion probiotics or live cultures in it. I have it down in my fridge. I should look. But that means that you're getting all those live active cultures populating in your small intestines, okay? That's where you want it to be. So making sure you have those probiotics. Refined sugar should be at a limit. So number 4, lower your refined sugar and your refined carbs. So anything that you're buying, I would say in a box, people always ask, what does that mean? Go for live food over boxed food. So you can still have some fruits, limit honey, limit your baked goods, but you can still have some fruit, but eat things that either you can grow, you can pick, you can harvest. Think of it in those terms, okay? So real live food. Number 5, this is your last one. Lower xenoestrogens. Remember, xenoestrogens are things that are going to add fuel to the fire. So chemicals that are in fragrances that act like estrogen. They attach to estrogen receptor sites. They act like estrogen in our body. So those can be anything that are in our, daily makeup routines, lotions, hair care products, cleaning products, candles. Look for fragrances. Those are proprietary to a company, and they don't have to list what chemicals are in those fragrances. Even if they say BPA free, well, if it has a fragrance, there's usually like some kind of chemical in there that shouldn't be. It could have over 5,000 chemicals in a fragrance. Thank goodness we have essential oils that we don't have to go for those fragrances, right? We have things at our fingertips that are naturally derived from the earth. Eat organic, because non-organic foods are sprayed with lots and lots of pesticides. Those pesticides act as, and fungicides too, and they act as xenoestrogens in our body. Okay? They attach to receptor sites, estrogen receptor sites, and they act just like estrogen. So go for organic as much as possible. And here's the other thing. United States grown organic. Have you ever flipped over an apple that says imported from Chile? Organic, imported from Chile. Grown in, and then another country. When it comes into our country, it goes through a radiation process. Okay, so it's still organic, but all those living things have just been halted. Okay, all those, that nutrients has just gone down a notch. So make sure it's US grown organic if possible. Switch and ditch your products, just like we said. Okay, limit those xenoestrogens. Young Living has amazing lines of organic, well, we can't say organic. We're not organically labeled because we're in all countries, right? So it's not US organic, but we know that the way that our products are made and grown on the farms are done without any chemicals or pesticides. So, our oils, our hair care products, our lotions, our baby care products, right? All chemical free. Laundry soap, dish soap. Start with one room in your home and start ditching and switching. Again, it's not overnight, it's one thing at a time, because those things, those chemicals, again, will create dis-ease and imbalance in your digestive tract, in your microbiome. We want to keep that microbiota, that flora, we want to keep it healthy and vibrant. We don't want anything to disrupt it, okay? And then lowering those xenoestrogens, ditch the PUFAs. Who remembers what the PUFAs were? Polyunsaturated fatty acids, all the industrial seed oils. So you're probably thinking, okay, Sarah, well, what oils do I use, right? Butter. Butter is so good. Butter, lard is making a comeback. Did you know Crisco, the advertising that went into Crisco, they would advertise it and they would make the advertising look so like good. And they made like these women that were in their high heels. This was in the 50s, high heels, their beautiful little dresses and their hair done. They made it look like only the elite women used Crisco and the non-elite women used lard, right? That it was less than. That's how advertising works, y'all. It works, right? I mean, we see it. Lard is making a comeback. Go with things that are natural. Lard in pie crust, lard in your cooking, okay? If you can find a farmer, a local farmer, ask them if they sell lard. I have a list on my website. It's a resource list for the Lancaster County area for farmers that have pasture-raised animal meat products. And I'm sure they probably sell lard too. And tallow, yes, Tiff, tallow, olive oil, and avocado oil is another one, and coconut oil too. Just make sure those things are organic or grass-fed. You need a lard class, okay? I will think about how to do that because I feel like we use a lot of lard in our house. Yeah. So yes, those are the 5 things that I would start with. Start with one of those 5. Increase your fiber, reduce your alcohol, fermented foods or Life 9, refined sugar needs to go down, right? And then lower your xenoestrogens, okay? And that's a big one. So maybe you just want to start with lower your xenoestrogens and work through there, right? So I gave you a lot of things to talk about and think about tonight. Talk about with your family, think about. I hope you have some good notes. You can reach out to me. I'm going to put my email. If you have questions, type them now. Sarah at wealthbookrevival.com. You can message me. I would be happy to set up some, a 30-minute consult with you, and we can talk through some things. Melanie says, can't wait to, oh yes, I have a sourdough class on Friday. There's 2 more spots left if you want to make sourdough bread, make some ancient grain bread. Let me go back to some of your questions. Yes, there's co-ops all over the place. Sarah said she's part of Farm Fresh Co-op. They will drop off organic fruits and vegetables. There is Misfits Market. My sister-in-law is part of Misfits Market because she's way up New York. And so it's like an hour to get to the grocery store. So they deliver fresh produce to her. You can become a part of Misfits as well. Life 9 will last in your fridge. I always put it in my fridge. So, and you're taking 1 a day. So, I mean, it's good for, it'll get you through for a month, but I think it'll last longer than that. Just keep it in your refrigerator. Yep. Any other questions? Okay, we are coming to the end. Okay, if you guys have questions that you want to personally ask me, my email is there. I thank you all for taking the time to learn a little bit about the microbiome, the estrobolome, and it's a complex topic, right? Would you all agree? There is so much more science to go into this, and we're still learning. Science is following this. So, to detox from testosterone. That again, I would say that is, that's another imbalance in the microbiome and liver. So making sure it would be the same principles that we talked about, Karen, absolutely. Enzymes, best way to take enzymes. I take them, so Young Living has different kinds. I take Essential Zyme, because that's what I have right now, but you have to do it 30 minutes before you eat. So with your 2 biggest meals, I prefer Essential Zyme 4 with my meals. It's like dual capsule, so it releases with your meals. Essential Zymes 4. I love enzymes. It helps break down your food. As you age, your enzymes are depleted. You're only born with so many enzymes. So yes, supplementing with enzymes is really crucial, especially if you do have digestive issues. Good questions. Okay. Okay, Lori. Hormone test. Maybe we should do a whole class on hormone test. I'm going to just tell you one real quick. You all can research it. It's called the Dutch test, DUTCH. It's a dry urine analysis test. It is the most accurate hormone test that one can take, and there's multiple variations that you can take. You can go really in depth and check your hormones all month long, but it tests your urine, because when you pee, you metabolize any hormones left in your body, right? And so it tests your hormones that way. Saliva is probably the next one, I would say. Blood test only tests a certain amount, of hormones, and it's only in this one little window, right? It's like you go in, you get your blood taken, whereas the Dutch test, you can check your hormones all month long. You can do a whole analysis all month long if you want to go really in depth. But then again, you're paying out of pocket, okay? But you know what? I say to that, if you really want to know, it's worth it. You really want to know that starting point. It's worth it. So you would want to go through a functional medicine doctor or a naturopath that could actually read it for you. And I have someone in the Lancaster County area that can do that for you. So Lori, I'm going to put that up here. Just go to, I think it's like, I don't have the website. Just research Dutch test. I can put that in our group or on the Facebook website. Okay, it's getting late. It's a little after 9. Thank you all for joining. If you have questions, reach out. Have a good night. Bye.